Welcome into another edition of Saints Now by Chat Sports. My name is Trace Girouard. Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Here's the breakdown as to what we're diving into on this show. We're going to be talking about some Marshon Lattimore trade buzz. I'm back from Indianapolis, so I got some thoughts to share. And Mike Evans, he is officially returning to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it does impact the New Orleans Saints. So we're going to talk about that as well. But before we dive into that, I want your feedback, Saints fans. How likely are you to recommend this show, whether it's to some other Saints fans or just people who love the NFL or your friends and family? Scale it for me 1 to 10. 1 meaning you ain't recommending it to anybody. 10, you're going to share it with all of your friends and family. I want you to be critical. We want honest feedback, so this is your chance to help us improve our show here. Get in the comment section and sound off. All right, the streets are buzzing as Marshon Lattimore trade rumors are red hot as a topic of discussion around the NFL. So what we're going to do here is we're going to talk about the financials, we're going to set the scene, we're going to just give my thoughts as to whether or not I think a Marshon Lattimore trade could go down. So real quick, before we get this started, give a shout out to Allie Barefoot producing her first ever video here at Chat Sports. Just type an AB or a foot down in the comment section. But let's set the scene right here. New Orleans is currently about $17 million over the cap as things stand right now. And there have been injury issues around Marshon Lattimore recently. In the past 2 years, he's missed about 17 games just through various injuries. And here's what I will say about this. For all of you in the camp of Saints better blow it up, Saints got to reset, Saints got to, just rebuild and get this whole thing off the ground and start over fresh. If that's you, you should be rooting for a Marshon Lattimore trade. And if it's not, if you don't want Marshon Lattimore trade, but you want the Saints to blow it up, shut your mouth because you don't know what you're talking about. So let's get to the financials here. The trade, if you were to trade him pre-June 1st, the New Orleans Saints would have about $31 million in dead money, and they would actually lose $16.7 million in cap space. But the trade, if you did it after June 1st, you would have $10.6 million in dead money and about $4 million in cap savings. And worth noting on this last note, Marshon Lattimore has no guaranteed money after 2024 at the time of filming this video, Monday, March 4th, about 1:30 p.m. So all of this contract talk, all this stuff, let's dumb this down because for me, I'm bad with this kind of stuff. I'm going to dumb it down for myself and try to do my best job explaining it to you guys. So a new team could pay as low as about $4 million in 2024. And if that new team that trades for Marshon Lattimore, if they bring him in, you also have the option to release him in 2025 with minimal cap charges. So that's just kind of the explanation. There's a really good write-up. I retweeted it on my social media account at Trace Girouard 48, and it explains from over the cap the whole thing. But I want to go back to this tweet. You see the date. This is not new. This was from January 3rd. The Saints, they did this. Field Yates reported that they got to work to get under the cap, and they converted $13.79 million of Marshon Lattimore's $15 million base salary in 2024 into an option bonus, which created about $11 million in cap space. They started chipping away, blah, 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 all that, and then they had the restructures that we've discussed on the channel. So I want to offer a little bit more explanation as to why a trade could go down. Nick Underhill a while back, after this report came out, he went live on NOF and on the NOF network and explained this, and this is what he said, the quote, this is an option bonus, not a signing bonus. It's set a week before the 2024 season starts. The only reason to do this is to leave the door open to a transaction where you can move on from somebody. So let's talk about him getting traded now. Based on some of the stuff that I've heard way behind the scenes, not surprised that this is something that everyone's kind of open to at this point. So we will see if it actually happens, but the table is set for a trade to be made. So coming up here in just a second, I'm going to discuss what I would do with Marshon Lattimore. Would I keep him? Would I trade him? What's my plan here? And also, what could the trade compensation be? Because if it's something nice, I mean, shoot, might want to try and get some draft capital back. But I want to just really quickly get you guys to describe Marshon Lattimore in one word for me. I want you to get in the comment section, get loud, and sound off. What's your one-word reaction to describe number 23? Mine? I think it's a dog. Just dog. If it's dominant, if it's elusive, if it's awesome, if it's favorite, whatever. If you want to say Mike Evans' daddy, I'll give you 3. I'll give you 3, okay? Just going to let you do that. There you go. So get in the comment section. Use one word to describe Marshon Lattimore. Mine, dog. All right. So in terms of what I would do with Marshon Lattimore, I'm keeping the guy. If it's not clear, I'm keeping number 23 on my roster. Marshon Lattimore is a phenomenal football player. He has a lot of really, really impactful play on that side, on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, it's coming to a point, and it's been at a point. This is how it is. Teams do not throw to his side of the field. Marshon Lattimore is a lockdown corner. He can destroy and command an entire half of the field with very little help. But let's play some devil's advocate because I think that's important here. What could New Orleans get in return? Is it a first-round pick? Personally, that's what I would want. If I'm trading Marshon Lattimore, I'm asking for a nice haul in return. But over the cap, in that write-up that I mentioned just a minute ago, they talked about what a trade compensation could look like, and this is kind of what the synopsis is. It's probably not too much. Jalen Ramsey, who was just 1 year older, was traded for a third-round pick and a third-round tight end who never saw the field in 2 years. Lattimore is not considered as good as Ramsey and has a far more extensive injury history. I'm sorry, if you think Jalen Ramsey is like leaps and bounds better than Marshon Lattimore, get your eyes checked. I don't know what to tell you. But here's more from Over the Cap saying both cases are going to be seen as salary dumps, which lessens the value. So you might be looking at something like a 5th-round pick being the base compensation. Now, I don't necessarily know if that's like I don't agree. Like, this is a salary dumping thing. No, this might be a thing of Saints might just want to go a new direction. Maybe they really liked what they saw at Alontae Taylor on the outside and trust Paulson Adebo, and they want to try and run with them. I don't think that this would be purely a salary cap move. I think it would be hey, we want to move on and try and do something different. We want to do that. But a 5th-round pick is absolutely disrespectful. Did we forget who we're talking about here? I mean, come on. This is lockdown Lattimore. Did we freaking forget who the heck number 23 is? I mean, ridiculous. 5th-round pick, so disrespectful. So what's your asking price? I think for me, I would want at least a 3rd-round pick. I don't know if you're getting a day 1 pick, but a round 3, I mean, that's a player that you want. And here's the thing, that's kind of hard to do because it's easier to trade him after the draft. So at that point, it's, bring me a player, give me future picks. Like, that's kind of where things get kind of tricky here. That's why I think just keep him, don't mess with it, and you're all good to go, and you still got a great cornerback, at least for another season. So in terms of some replacements, here's some guys that the Saints could possibly go and draft or sign in free agency. Cooper DeJean had the absolute pleasure and honor getting to talk with his dad out in Indianapolis. His dad told me that he met with the Saints, and he thought it was a really, really good meeting. So I think that that's pretty cool. Would love to see Cooper DeJean come to New Orleans. Hot take. I think he's a really fun player to watch. Terrion Arnold, I love the player. I think he is talented. I think he would be a great addition. Nate Wiggins, he was moving in his 40-yard dash. Had a little bit of a slight injury pop up. I know a lot of people are freaking out about that, but it's April. Football doesn't start until August. Feels like it's probably nothing too major. Steven Nelson, a free agent that you could possibly look at. Kool-Aid McKinstry, he did have an injury pop up during his medical examinations at the Combine, so maybe he could fall a little bit. I could see the Saints being interested in that player as well. But not just in terms of draft picks and guys you could bring in. Let's talk about the people on the roster. The coverage stats for these 3 guys, I'm going to say it, I like them. I know that 51.8 coverage grade from PFF for Alontae Taylor isn't necessarily the most appealing, But that's being said, when you put him out on the outside, he came down with 2 interceptions. This is a good football player that you want running the defense, excuse me. Paulson Adebo, he's a young piece that could run the defense. Paulson Adebo is the guy to run the defense. He is so good. He had a career season this year, and his development has been so intriguing. I want to see more and more from Paulson Adebo. And Isaac Yiadom, I could see the Saints wanting to bring him back, especially if Marshon Lattimore is traded. The production was stellar. He was excellent in special teams, and he made an impact pretty much any time he was on the field. So I will say this, Saints fans, if a trade does go down, we're going to go live, we're going to break it down, we're going to discuss everything, talk about the compensation, what it means for the Saints, replacements. We're going to go through every detail that you need to know. So subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Anytime there's an update, we're going to make a video, but if he gets traded, we're going to go live, we're going to talk about it, and we're going to break down every ounce of information that you as a Saints fan need to know. All right, so let's get to some divisional news because this is important and it does impact New Orleans. Wide receiver Mike Evans and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they have agreed to a 2-year, $52 million contract worth about $35 million in guaranteed money. And yeah, I'll say this, man. Mike Evans, I hate the guy, but he's a damn good football player. Former Texas A&M Aggie, that alone is reason for me to just despise the man from head to toe. The other fact is that he plays against my favorite team twice a season, so there's more reason to despise the guy. But if you remove both of those things, holy cow, this is a talented football player. Over 1,000 yards every single season he's been in the league. So because Mike Evans is coming back, you have to keep Lattimore no matter what. You really want Mike Evans to just cook your team twice a season for the next 2 years. Look at the numbers that Marshon Lattimore has limited Mike Evans to in about 12 matchups. 31 receptions, 57 targets. 530 yards only. 3 touchdowns in less than 50 yards per game. This is a player who, when you look at the numbers, Mike Evans is an 1,000-yard receiver every year. In more than half of us, in 12 games against Marshon Lattimore, 11 or 12 games against Marshon Lattimore, he has less than 500. I'll make sure I have that right. He has a less than 500 yards. I mean, are you freaking kidding me? This is a guy who's dominant. This is a guy who commands. He has 530 yards. He has less than 600 yards. This is a guy who's dominant and commands coverage and attention from opposing defensive backs. The matchup between these two guys is one of the league's best. And they are two of the best at their respective positions. If you love football, this is the ultimate matchup and the ultimate competition. There's been fights. They have gotten scrappy. They get in each other's face. Chains are getting snatched. Punches are getting thrown. And really, really good football is being played. So what's next for Tampa? Well, Dianna Rusinni had some context to this, and they said, well, they're going to be trying to sign Baker Mayfield. The Bucs have started their negotiations to get him or to keep him around, and they're making an effort to get it done. The sources have shared that the quarterback will not take a hometown discount to stay in Tampa Bay. Meanwhile, teams like Atlanta and Minnesota are watching. And before we move on to this last graphic, I want to make one thing clear. So Baker Mayfield and Derek Carr, very, very similar seasons. In terms of the statistics and the play, go look at them. It's shockingly close. The only kind of caveat here is Baker Mayfield's on a discounted contract because he got signed late in free agency. He was not a priority free agent last year. This year, things have changed. The script has flipped a little bit around Mayfield, and now he could go command money elsewhere. Atlanta, Minnesota are two teams that Dianna Rusinni mentioned. I think it would be hilarious to see Baker go from Carolina to a couple other teams to Tampa Bay. I think it would just be so funny to see him make his rounds in the NFC South. That being said, Baker Mayfield sticking around in Tampa Bay, I think would make things really interesting. If he leaves, Kirk Cousins is an interesting option. Maybe they run it back with Desmond Ridder. Who knows? But we want to keep you informed around the NFC South as a whole because this does impact your team. But Who Dat Nation, if you hate the Bucs, just give me a FTB in the comment section and show some love to my girl Allie Barefoot for producing this video. No mistakes, and she crushed it. Who Dat Nation, y'all stay golden. We'll see you next time.